Hello and welcome to this week's Scriptcase video. My name is Jamie Oates and I am your host today. In today's video, we will be looking at creating a PWA platform with Scriptcase. Now you may be wondering what a PWA is, and PWA stands for a Progressive Web App or Progressive Web Application. The choice is really yours. And it is a web application with some functions that can simulate a native mobile application in this case, and it is a layer or a middle ground. It is actually a middleware between the apps as well as the web applications. In order to call a web app a PWA, technically speaking, it should have the following features. So it needs to be secure. It has to have a valid SSL certificate, i.e. HTTPS must be enabled. It must also have a minimum of one service worker. And you can add many more. You can add 2, 3, 4, and they can all do different things. And you also need to have a manifest file. Now we will look into each one of these a little more as we continue on within this video. So what are the advantages of using a PWA or creating a PWA? And that would be that it is a multi-platform, or it would become a multi-platform application. So in this case, your Scriptcase platform or portal would then be functional on multiple platforms, i.e. also mobile devices. It also adapts to the user device browser, which is quite important for mobile devices, and you can also be used offline via the use of available service workers, which you can create and define yourself. You have also the navigation and behavior, which is then also very similar to the native applications that you have on those devices, whether that be a mobile phone or whether that be a tablet. It also uses a secure protocol, which is of course no surprise because we have the requirement for the HTTPS certificate or the valid SSL. So what is the manifest file? The manifest file is actually a JSON file which has or includes the characteristics or specifications for your application so that it can be configured to be installed on the various devices. Now you have on the right hand side here some further information which we will come into, and we will actually generate this manifest file and look at actually creating this within our own portal, and so we can actually create a mobile application. Now service workers is basically a sequence of commands which are executed in the background. They act as proxy servers and are intended, among other things, to enable the creation of effective offline experiences by using the browser caching. So with the service worker, you can basically set up a page that works as an offline page. You can have the browser cache as much of the content as possible, and also synchronize that within the background and so forth. Now, the most useful links that you will have, or that I'm going to give you, are already here, these two that we have here. There are some more coming up, but these are the most important links that we will be using within this video. So you will be needing them for your own Scriptcase project. So we have at the top here the PWA Builder, which is pwabuilder.com, and there we will be generating the PWA platform that we will be creating, as you will see. And then the following link after that is then a GitHub page, which is then the PWA Builder. Okay, so it's PWA-Builder, and there you have the PWA Builder-Web. Okay, and that is the most important factor, the PWA Builder-Web, and from there you will then basically be able to get to this complete URL, because it's the getting started and next steps page, and that is then a little easier to find. Otherwise you may have to dig a little bit to get there. Okay, so the next upcoming links we have is first of all for the installation. So this is PWA Builder /PWA/install, and also the first steps, again PWA Builder starter this time, and then the wiki getting started. So here you have some information on the first or initial steps of you actually using the PWA Builder in the first place. And at the bottom here we have an example of a PWA app, which is essentially also a web application and so forth, and you can also check that out. Now we will have a look at each of these during this video, and of course we will be generating our own files, adding them to our project, and of course creating a PWA app from our Scriptcase application. So you may be wondering initially about the application that we will be using, and that will be here. So if I log in here, for instance, and then from here I can then access my application. You may recognize this from one of the previous videos I had created. So here we have an expense management platform. We don't have all the information here because really it's just a quick demonstration of how we can actually generate this application and have everything set up. So we have group security set up here, as well as our HTTP certificate. So if I drag that down, we can actually see here that the HTTP certificate is secure and that it is also valid. Okay, so that is very important. And then once we have that for our own project or our own platform, then we can actually come here to the PWA Builder website, pwa.com here, and actually have our platform or our website tested. So if I go ahead and test this current domain that I have here, modules.com, and I add the root domain in, I'm not actually going to add the folder, because if we check out the expense management platform again, you may notice it is actually inside of a folder here. So it's semodules.com and then /scpwa/ and then we have our menu application. Okay, so that is very important that we then include here our root domain, and if I click on the start button, what it's going to do is go ahead and scan my site. So just at the bottom here, you have some more information on the manifest, service worker, as well as the secure HTTPS. So do check those out. So I'm sorry, I just skipped over that really quickly. We are still going to check out some of these other pages we have before we continue on. We're just running this initial scan, and we are going to see that, first of all, our portal that we have online there is not compatible at this moment, because we still need to add the manifest file as well as a service worker. We have our initial setup, which is the HTTPS certificate, as well as the valid, of course being valid. And then we still need to add here our manifest as well as our service worker, which we see here we have 0 points on both of these, and for our security we have 30. Okay, so we will come back to this in a few moments, but before we do, I want to actually jump into more of what PWA is, or more of the links that we have available there, and then what we're going to do is we are going to run into a few other requirements that you will be needing, and then we can actually go ahead and set up this application so that we can generate mobile applications for mobile devices, for instance, where we can then generate and publish Google apps or Apple Store apps and publish them actually to the store and have a fully functional application, which also has a very native feel to it. Okay, so the first link that we're going to have a look at is here, first of all, the PWA Builder. And this is one of the first links that I had shared with you, and the reason why I'm coming to this first, we will come to this last. Again, because it is one of the most important links that we have here, and it will give you the steps on what to do with your manifest file once you have it, what to do with your service worker, as well as how to upload your images if you need, and some information that you will need to add to your index page. So once you've done that, then we will actually be able to complete this setup. But for now, that's the page that we will have, and that is something we will come back to, because as I said, we will be needing the script there. We have also shared the PWA-install page, which is PWA-builder /PWA-install. And here on the install, we have the main repository for PWA install, and as you see, is a web component from the PWA Builder team that brings an awesome install experience to your progressive web app. And this is definitely worth looking at. Go ahead, install it, have a play with it, and of course read all the information here, learn more about it. I must say there is a great deal of information here also on the PWA starter, and here again we have a great deal of information on how the best practices and how you should actually use PWA and so forth. Now do note that PWA works with many other code bases also, because I had used this previously within React.js and I had a completely different experience with it. And at the time though, I don't believe I actually used the plugin which we will be using today. So we have here some first steps for the PWA starter, and as it says here, we will first need a GitHub account. So you will need a GitHub account. You will also need to have Node.js JS installed, because that is a requirement of using some of these resources we have online today. And you will also need to have installed Visual Studio Code, because with the PWA Builder, we also have the option of installing a plugin. So if I come back here to the PWA page, and we've already done our first scan here, I'm going to come back to the options that we have available here. But for now, I'm going to come back here to the first page. And on the first page, we have here the Use Dev Tools. So if I open that up, it will actually take me to the Visual Studio Marketplace. If you don't have Visual Studio installed yet, you can actually access it up here to the right-hand corner. If I zoom that in a little bit, you can access it up here. And you can download and install that. And then you can also install here the PWA Studio Visual Studio Code plugin. With the plugin installed, you can then go ahead and generate your manifest file, which is something we will come to shortly. So just in case, if you don't have Visual Studio Code installed, you can access it up here to the right, and you will also need to install this PWA Builder extension, which you can access here on the pwabuilder.com website, and the link is here, Use Dev Tools. Once you have that installed, then you will also be able to continue on with this video basically, as well as the creation of your own PWA application using a Scriptcase. Okay, so quickly, let's have a quick look at some of these other links. We had just looked at here the PWA starter, and as I said, we had some information here, some first steps to use this PWA starter, as well as some of the other applications and options we have here. We had also indicated here the Simple Edit 2, which was also a PWA starter project, but it is basically a demonstration of what a PWA or progressive web app is. Okay, so this is something you could again download. You have some prerequisites here, and that would be Node.js and npm. And it also asks you to have Visual Studio Code, be familiar with TypeScript. Okay, so as I said, there's a great deal of information there, and if we just go back to here the PWA Builder and just choose here the PWA Builder link at the top, you can see here a full menu of all of the options and possibilities, scripts and templates and so forth that you can actually link and download and learn from, as well as create other alternatives, because we have some other alternatives here that we can use the PWA Builder for. So that is something for you. Do check them out. It is definitely of great interest. Okay, so how to use the PWA Builder once we have our platform set up. So we've seen a few moments ago, I have here my platform that I have set up here, and if I log out, I have then a basic login page, which is using the Scriptcase group security. On the home page, I actually just have the root domain and then also a blank page at the moment. Okay, so there is nothing special there, and really once we've then continued on and generated our manifest file, we can then upload those to our server. And talking about our server, if I just open up my FileZilla, you'll see that on my server here I have my default folders. So I have some default folders for my index page that I have there, and here I have the scpwa folder, and that is where of course my Scriptcase project is, as we had seen just now. So I will need to upload some files here so that we pass the verification here of the PWA Builder. So here I have my Visual Studio Code, as that is also one of the things we're talking about, as well as the plugin installed, and I have that available here on the left hand side, and that is here called then the PWA Studio, downloaded here from Use Dev Tools with Visual Studio Code installed. And then once it is installed, you should have here the PWA Studio icon available. Of course, you will need to go through the installation process within Visual Studio Code, and I'm sorry I can't show you that, but I already had it installed. Okay, so if I go ahead and click on that, I will be presented with various options. First of all, to create a web manifest. I can also generate a service worker from here, and also start a new PWA. Okay, so I need to start by clicking at the bottom here, start a new PWA, and then at the top here I can go ahead and enter a new repository name, and there I will call it scpwa and click enter. It will then open up my user directory, and then from here I can go ahead and store then the files. So I have then an scpwa folder, and I can select that folder and then Visual Studio Code will go ahead and start generating all of the files for me. And you can see here it's running the npm install and then downloading all of the packages and setting everything up for me. And then once that's ready, it will then allow me to choose here whether I trust the authors or not. And I am the one running the script right now, so we need to trust that. And you may notice we have some further updates here on the left hand side. We have some indications that our manifest file has been created. All these options have been specified. We will also have a service worker created, and we have at the bottom here our store ready checklist applied. Okay, so once our files are created, I can actually go ahead and close Visual Studio Code. And then if I open my user folder, I have then here the SCPWA folder I created. And within that, I have then here the public folder. And if I open that up, I have here a new manifest file, which is what I actually want. So I'm going to go ahead and right click that and then open that with code. And that will then go ahead and open Visual Studio Code for me. And then once the manifest file has been opened, I can then go ahead and make some adjustments here. So let me drag down the console window here. In fact, I can go ahead and close that now. It's not needed anymore. And then I have here the manifest file. So I'll zoom out here a little bit. We can maybe have a larger view at this, and we have here shortcuts, categories, features, screenshots, so all of the options that we were seeing available that we could add within our manifest file. And I'm not going to be using a great deal of these, so I'm going to go ahead and remove a load of these. And if I get rid of them all the way up to here, screenshots, and I will just keep hold of the icons. What I will also do is remove here the ID field. And I need to adjust the start URL, which will then be .scpwa, and that is then where my platform is then located, which we were seeing then earlier, scpwa. I can also adjust here the name, as well as, for instance, add a description. And of course I can change the background color as well as the theme color and other options. Now one important factor is that the path for images needs to be precise. So that is something I have already prepared here within my folder. And there, as you'll see, I have some images here. I have an updated index HTML file as well as the service worker already, and already a modified manifest JSON file. So I have here the images, and what I'm going to do is then change here or replicate here the Scriptcase PNG and then replace that here with the new image that will be used for this. Now this is then the icon that will be displayed on the mobile device, and that is then basically required for the entire installation, otherwise it will fail. Okay, so if I go ahead and save that, that is then our manifest file ready. And then what we need to do is then generate our service worker. Okay, so back within the PWA builder, if I go ahead and add the URL again, scmodules.com, and click start, the PWA builder will then again go ahead and scan our site. We haven't made any changes there yet, so there should be no changes or any differences from what we had previously. We should still have a 0, 0, and 30 score. And then from there, we can go ahead, start to upload the files that we have, as well as make the final adjustments that we need. And of course, generate our service worker, which we will be doing as soon as the scan has completed. Okay, so once the PWA report card has been prepared, we can then go ahead here to the service worker to the right hand side, click on that, and it will expand and present us with various options. So the first important thing is, of course, is telling us further information about the service worker. We can have then further options and what possibilities we have where we get our points from. And we have the same up here for our manifest file, which, as you see, includes all of the options that we had actually just configured. So we had just added here the icon, we had designated the start URL, we had changed also the short name property, the name property, we have icons for the home screen. We still need to attach it, and then we have also the display mode. It has a background color, has a theme color, and so forth, all contained within the manifest file. For the service worker, we need to add a service worker. And we also have the option here for working offline. So this is separate, and in addition, of course, it is recommended that your application works offline, and that is something that you would have to then additionally add. Okay, to generate your service worker, we have here the service worker options, and if I click on that, it will open up here some further information regarding the service workers, what options we have available. For instance, here I could add them to a base package, download them and code them and so forth, or I can just view the code here and then copy and paste this into a page and add that to our project. We want an offline page or offline copy of pages, offline copy of with backup offline pages. We can cache the first network also. We had advanced caching options, synchronization for the background, as well as serving media cache or cached media. Okay, so at the top here, as I said, you just click on any of these to view the code, and you can copy and paste that and modify it if need be. In this case, for this first one, for instance, offline page, offline copy of pages, these are all using the browser cache and are, pretty much ready to go. And of course, some of the others we may need to add an extra page, for instance, or something else to actually complete the package. Okay, so coming back to our overview, if I close these back up again, we see that we have our security at 30, and there we have the HTTPS certificate. It is valid and there's no mixed content, and we have 10 points for each of those. So there we cannot improve this any further. We just now need to add the manifest as well as the service worker. So with your service worker already created, and as you've seen here, I had already gone ahead and separated and stored everything. So here I have the PWA builder-sw.js, and if I open that up with code, that is then here my service worker. Okay, and I've called it this because that is what the script indicates, which we will be adding shortly. And in that you can see that there's nothing modified in here. It's copied and pasted from the page, so there's no modifications here. And the manifest file, if we have a look at that also, see here PWA sample, we have the path correct, we have a short name added there, we haven't changed any theme color or anything, we have our PNG in there, and we have also the direction defined. So of course that is something we want to double check if we had that here. So here we didn't actually have the direction defined, and that is also a requirement. So do make sure you add this in there if you do not have that yet, because as you see by default it is not there, and you will be wanting that. Okay, so once that is in there, then you can go ahead and upload your files. Now you may notice also there are one or two other options that are maybe missing or additional. Then you can go ahead and add those. They are kind of just additionally there. Okay, so with our files prepared, and we have also here some images that we have added. So we have PWA PNG, a Scriptcase PNG, and also an ICO area. If we wanted to change the images, I can go ahead and do so. But now within FileZilla, I have then my server and my hosting, where I have then here my Scriptcase project. So the folder is here, and that is also then where my portal is located with my security and my platform and everything. And what I need to do is I need to select here my files and upload them into my server. So once they've been uploaded, they will be then visible here. And I'm going to go ahead and say yes, overwrite. And what you're going to see is here on my index page, so if I go ahead and view and edit that, what you'll see is I have here an extra script added, which is a link indicating where the manifest.json file is, and also a script. And you may be wondering where I got that from. So let's come back here to one of the first links that I shared with you, and that was here. Let me come back to it here. It was back here. We went forward. That was here, the PWA builder, PWA builder-blob/v2/src for source/assets/next-steps.md. Okay, so you will be wanting to have a look at this URL because, as I said, this will give you further information, like as I just explained to you, uploading all your files, uploading your images, generating, well, not generating your manifest file. We had just gone through that. Again, you will be needing the plugin for Visual Studio. It's really the easiest way. The alternative way, believe me, is a little more complicated, and you will have to use a terminal window throughout. Okay, so further down at the bottom here, we have here indication that we need to add our manifest file using this snippet of code. So that's what I've gone ahead and done. And we have also the indication here for our service worker, which is then for our HTML page, i.e. my index page. Okay, and that is then applied there, and that is then how I then also have in my index page here exactly the same. Okay, so once that is all uploaded, I can come back here to the PWA builder, and if I come back here to the home page, and I'm going to go ahead and scan the page again, and this time it should come back telling me, yes, there is a manifest file, it's indicated, as well as that there is a service worker, and there we go, there we have it. So here if I click on this, we can now see that we can have further options here if I wanted to, but alternatively all of the requirements are provided and indicated, as well as a service worker is also available. So I could already go ahead and go to the next step of this and start to create my PWA application. And then once your PWA package is ready, now do note you may have to refresh the page, as I pretty much just waited a few minutes, and which I'm probably have to cut out of the video, of course, and you're not going to see that, but I had to just wait a few minutes. And in general, there were a few issues in actually getting the manifest file recognized and so forth, so you may have some slight naggly annoyances there, but if you stick through it, you will actually find that it does work, and you will be able to get your application published like I have here. So here I have now the possibility to download a test package for Windows, for instance, and I can then go ahead and use that. The same goes for a store package or a store package for iOS or Android. So I can actually publish my application to one of those stores. And then once the application is ready, I can go ahead and download it. So I choose save. And then once I have the file downloaded, it will be in a zip file, and you can see here the files that I have here. So I have some application files for the Microsoft Store. I'm going to go ahead and extract those and then go ahead and install them. But for now, we can have a quick look here at the README file, which is available within the zip file, and that is what I am looking at here. So it gives us next steps for getting our application into the Microsoft Store in this case. And of course, with the Android and iOS, we will have those recommendations there on how we can then actually go ahead and publish our store to those applications or online stores. So let me go ahead and extract this, and then I'm going to also install it. So once you have all of the files downloaded, you need to right click here on the install.ps1, and then you need to choose here run with PowerShell. And then with your application installed, you will have a Windows application where you can go ahead and, for instance, use that as a real live working program, as I have here now, with various options and so forth within, or that I could post also within the Microsoft Store. Now, I did have to make one slight adjustment just now, so that is important that I share that with you. So as I actually generated the application, it actually went ahead and used the home page this time as my initial page. So if I go ahead and open up here the Visual Studio Code again, and at the top here we have the scope. Now what I did is I replicated this here from my starting URL also into the scope and updated that within my manifest file, and now I have the correct path indicated as it should be for my application. Now for the Android store, I could go ahead and choose that, indicate my Play Store settings and so forth, or other Android indications, short name, application and everything else. I can then go ahead and generate the application and then go ahead and download also again the package for that. So this time if I call that here Android, And you may notice I have there an alternative. As I said just now, the first application I downloaded gave me actually the home page of the main domain, and I had to make that slight change within Visual Studio Code just now. Okay, so I'll save this zip file, and then I also have an Android version, and extracted I have then the following files. So here I could go ahead and install the APK. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and open up my BlueStacks because that's what I have located here or installed on my machine. And then once that is installed within my virtual Android operating system, so on my phone, I can also go ahead and open up the application, and I have then a fully usable Scriptcase platform or portal available on a Microsoft device, an Android device, and even an iOS device with a similar kind of feeling to what you may have on those applications. So thank you very much for watching this week's Scriptcase video. I hope you have enjoyed it and now also know how you can use, for instance, the PWA Builder to generate mobile applications for your Scriptcase portals. Have a great day, and I hope you have enjoyed.